Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome to the Tony and Dakota podcast. Today, we have another special woman on the podcast that Tony's going to introduce.
This is Sasha Aurand. Did I get it right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Interpretation.
We came to know Sasha through our local Real Estate Investors Association, and most recently, the most recent thing that she helped us with was figuring out how to structure and create units in our mansion property that we purchased just off of Superior Street. But we also know Sasha because we see her actively involved in real estate. She is either turning properties into rental properties, managing them. They do some seller financing between you and Anthony may do a little bit more of that than you do, right?
Yeah, that's not a me thing.
Okay.
I'm construction.
and then the primary business is real estate construction, as well as a handful of other things that it looks like you may have been invested in, or in business doing. So we're going to be asking Sasha a lot of questions. This is Sasha Aurand.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So when I was doing my research, I saw something about how you were a founder of a vineyard. Is that true?
No.
No.
She's like,
all
"Nope,
right.
not me."
It must have been the wrong Sasha.
A vineyard? Like a winery?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe ask Anthony if we invested in one, but I did not found one.
Okay. And then let me see if I got this right. So you were, let me just throw everything out. Okay. You went to college in Bloomington.
I did.
And then for a minute you were in Pennsylvania.
I was a camp counselor / lifeguard for a summer in Pennsylvania.
Okay. Just for a summer.
Yep.
And then
In college.
you moved to New York.
Then I moved to New
You
York.
got pretty passionate about fashion.
Yep.
And then you moved to Miami.
Yep.
And then you ended up in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Why did you come here?
Yeah, so I lived in New York for like 6 or 7 years, right out of college. My first job, I was a nanny, actually, which got me there. And then ended up leaving that position after about 3 years, meeting Anthony, my partner. And we loved New York so much, but he had been there for, I think, like 12 years at the time, and it was just really time to take a break. So we moved to Miami. He sold his company, and we wanted to get into real estate. And the Miami market, and this is pre-COVID, was very inflated even back then. Knowing what I know now with COVID, still was great pricing, even though it was so high. So we looked into doing rentals there and turning, houses into different units and different things. But Miami's a very odd market, and a lot of people don't do things completely by the book. And so we just weren't really interested in jumping into that. Everything we do, we like to be very buttoned up. And so it just wasn't the right climate for us. No pun intended, because it's really warm there. So I said, I'm from Fort Wayne, this really small town in Indiana, which is not really small. It's the second biggest, which I like to point out when my friends from New York are like, you're in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, the fuck, I'm not.
It's the second
biggest.
biggest.
It's the second biggest city. And they're like, oh, so you live in Indianapolis. And I'm like 2 hours, like really close though.
Yep.
And so we actually, this would have been October of 2019, came for 2 weeks, stayed in an Airbnb, and just had a blast. And Anthony was like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's invest here. Let's move. So that's the story of my life. I move all the time, and packed up all of our stuff. And we were in an apartment, I think, by December 1.
Wow.
Yeah, in Fort Wayne. So that's why I'm here.
I feel like I got so many questions. I didn't know that you're from Fort Wayne. So where did you go to school then?
Irwin Memorial Park, Southside.
Okay. Wow.
Yep.
That's awesome. And why did Anthony be like, yeah, let's invest in Fort Wayne? Like, that is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, so when we stayed in West Central, you walk all the time over there. You meet your neighbors. And he really liked the different change of pace. Living in New York for so long, it's always like, go, go, go. What's the next milestone? What's the next milestone? And I think it can be very wearing. And I don't know, spent about 9 months a year in Miami. And that was even more like still the bustle, but a lot of parties, a lot of different types of people, and it just wasn't really our vibe. So I think he was okay with the change of pace.
That's awesome. Yeah. Did you see an opportunity, or did both of you guys see an opportunity that
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so you're like, okay,
Yeah.
Fort Wayne is a market, and this was, what year was this?
This was very, very end of 2019.
Nice.
Yeah. And so, yeah, so just, he's very analytical. So running numbers and just seeing the opportunity where places like, Miami, New York, California are already so, I don't know what the word is, like taken advantage of, essentially. So
Saturated.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm from Fort Wayne, so I know all the neighborhoods. I know, granted I hadn't been here in over 10 years. Oh, 15 years, more than that.
Have you been thinking about investing in real estate?
It's not like what you see on HGTV.
We created a course to show you how to really invest and create a profitable flipping and wholesaling business.
We give you marketing strategies like how to pull lists, who we target, and where we find the money.
We go over sales, which includes live calls and negotiations, scripts, role-playing, and so much more.
Everything that you need to know to flip houses is in this course. And if there's anything that we missed, we will create a video to answer your specific question.
This knowledge has made us over $1 million, and we're selling it today for just $997. Click the link below.
But at least I knew the lay of the land. I know how to get from point A to point B. I know that when someone presents us a deal and it's on X street, I'm like, no, or like, oh my gosh, that's amazing, where we just wouldn't have that knowledge anywhere else.
Yep, that's awesome.
How did you grow up too? So it seems like you have something in you that makes you want to continually accomplish or like pursue things, and that you traveled like a significant amount. Do your parents look at you and are they just like, slow down, Sasha, you just like get a job, and like you should have been a nurse like we said, and like, are they like the typical Midwest parents, or were they different in that they were like, you should do everything?
I mean, I don't think it was either of those. So I grew up with a single mother who, she was a waitress at, I think it's like a sushi place now. It used to be called Park Place. And then she ended up getting a job at Community Harvest Food Bank and like working her way up there. And so I don't think she ever really pressured me to do anything. But she was very cultured and, always expanded my horizon to different things. Like I was bringing sushi in my lunchbox when I was in like 4th grade before it was cool. So it was like a little weird situation. But she always said, do whatever you want to do. And I saw her, go from her transition of like being a waitress and like us having no money to, being a lot better. So I always wanted to do more, I guess. But yes, she does tell me that I never see her, even though we live 5 minutes apart now. And she's like, can you take a day off? I'm like, no, I can't. But I do. I, go over to her house and hang out sometimes. So.
At what age did your mom become like a single?
Forever.
Oh,
yeah,
forever?
She was always a single mom.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Like from your childhood?
Mm-hmm.
And do you have siblings?
I don't.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Our first house was on Riverside Avenue. $53,000, I think.
Wow.
And this was, a long time ago. And that was a huge stretch for her, but made it happen, and it was great.
Yeah. Did your mom, the thing that I always think about with like one-sided is like, I grew up with a mom and 2 sisters. And so it almost felt like I had to put on more masculine energy for like to make up for the lack of it.
Sure.
Did your mom have any sort of that, or like did you portray any of that, or feel like you got more masculine energy because of not having a father? Did she like play the role of both, or what did that look like?
I mean, I think masculinity is a very cultural, thing.
Yeah.
Like, no, she didn't play sports with me, but like I don't like sports.
Sure.
I mean, the woman wouldn't even play board games with me, so I, kind of played by myself. But
did she like, I guess the masculine traits that we'd expect from a father, like to create discipline, structure?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, she had to play both roles in that aspect, so I think she did that pretty well.
Yeah. That seems like it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think I had another question around that topic, but I guess I can move on to the next one.
I got a story. The reason that I asked is because I think that your energy, and this is like not, I'm actually working on my feminine energy, honestly, right now, because it's something that I feel like I lack in very much, because again, I was so caught up in that masculine energy that now I'm like, okay, I need to feel some emotions and like actually connect with people, and something that I struggle with a lot. But I remember when your masculine energy met my masculine energy, and I already told you this one time, but I want to tell the story for the viewers, is you just got into town, and like, I think you were visiting or something, and you're like, yeah, I'm actually from here, but I'm coming back here. And then we met up at a landlord meeting, and then
the lunch.
Yeah, we were doing like, I don't know, 2 or 3 deals a month, and we were like, dude, we're freaking beasts. Like, we're doing so good. Like,
and I hadn't purchased anything yet.
Yeah, we're like, we got like 20 rentals in the hood, and it was like we're something here. And I remember you were like, okay, so like, what kind of marketing are you doing? We told you you're marketing, and then you're like, okay, are you tracking your KPIs? We're like, nah. Like, you should probably do that. Like, why aren't you doing that? We're like, screw KPIs. Who needs KPIs? We're like, why do we need KPIs? Like, we spend $2,000 a month, and we're making like $20,000 a month. Why do we need to track it? It doesn't matter. And I remember in that moment, that was again like my inability to accept feedback, honestly, like from a woman. And it was, and I realized that later in like my journey and like going into my feminine energy, honestly, is like, that's crazy to me that I have that fight, and it has more to do with my mom than anything. But yeah, I just wonder like what that dynamic, whenever somebody does grow up with a single parent, like it's crazy, because you think, oh, I'm going to become more feminine and more like that. Sure. But actually what can happen is the exact opposite, where you get a lot of the other traits that are possibly missing. So I'm actually super thankful that you said that. And that's something that we're still leaning into. I'm like, dude, we need to track our KPIs. We still need to. It is such a daunting task, but I'm like, man, it is so important. So like, I appreciate you, like always speaking out for what you believe is right, even when it's more difficult. And I think that is another characteristic of like true love for people, and for like their better, like betterment of them. It's like, tell them the truth, even though it's like, this is going to be uncomfortable for the both of us. Right.
And especially first meeting you, probably shouldn't have been so brash, but
no,
it is what it is.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and I'm like glad that it's your personality, because again, it's not like you were saying it to be like, hey, I freaking track my KPIs. Yeah, I track mine, and you suck. You were saying like, hey, you should probably do this if you actually want to like grow your business and be sustainable. So we talked earlier a lot about like systems, processes, and stuff. Are you very big on like, okay, systems, processes by the book? And if so, where did that come from?
Anthony.
Really?
Yeah. So I think I'm more loosey-goosey on things sometimes. But then I think it's a learning lesson. You can say, well, I don't need to, even things like getting a 1099, like, oh, I'll get it. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, you don't pay people until you get a 1099. Mm-hmm. You don't, do these things, and there's a reason behind them. So I think finally getting over your own shit and getting out of your head, like, well, I know how to do it better, or I don't have to do that. It's like, no, just you need to do this, and then everything is so much more streamlined. And then you're not spending, so much time on this thing that literally could just be a process. Yep. So, yeah, I would say starting out super strong. Like, my Google Drive was, like, impeccable. You know what I mean? It was like, this is exactly where this is exactly where this is. I have Slack for this, blah, blah, blah. And then it's people, right?
Yep.
We're not computers.
Yep.
So things, get a little bit lax. And I think now that with a construction company hiring so many people, I have to be back on it. So a lot of my time and energy is shifted to making sure that it is like real companies and real processes, even leases, like making sure you have them. Because what happens if you don't have a lease and you're selling, or you have to go to court or something? Yep. It's like, no paper. We don't use paper. Yep. So, yeah, it's taken a while, but yeah.
What initially got you into real estate? So how did you decide that real estate was the right vehicle? Like, what inspired that? And then how did you get started?
Yeah, I think this kind of ties back into the whole Miami thing. Stopping working with Anthony and him selling the company, we just wanted to do something else. And I think we really wanted reoccurring revenue. having a service-based business can be amazing. You can do really well with it, but it's not reoccurring. So if you don't have that income always coming in, you're always going to have to find the next sale, find the next deal, whatever it is. And I think we wanted more security. So that was why real estate was very enticing to us. I think being in control is a huge part too. You know, sure, you get money from stocks or bonds or whatever that is, but you're not in control. That's not my company. I don't know what they're doing there. So I think when you own something and you can control that process, the renovation, the tenants, how you collect rent, everything, it makes us and me feel a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, and you can get more efficient with it.
Exactly.
Too, which is pretty cool. Is it's more in your control to change process if it doesn't work.
Exactly.
Speaking of processes, I love structure now, and it's so funny because I remember in school I hated it. And like, it's funny how usually people who like to create structure don't like to follow structure.
Right.
So it's interesting. But the question that I always have, and something that we believe in that I don't know what you believe, so I'm curious, and it's going to be a little bit of long an explanation, but do you ever create a process and then you're like, okay, we're following this process. It's so by the book. We're doing everything right that you realize that it will actually take because you're doing everything by the book. So let me just give you an example. Hopefully the city code's not listening to this. Let's just say you pull permits for every single property on like all the little dumb things. And then you're doing that on 20 properties at a time because you're in the middle of all of them. If you don't pull them and then you get like, you can speed up your process on what you get done, which means you make more profit, more money. And then whenever you get caught the one time, you just pay it. And it's actually less than if you did it the whole time because now you're making more money overall. Do you like, let's just say it's not even the permit, just like in general. Yeah. Is that the kind of stuff that you think about? Or do you just like, no, I'd rather do it the right way and know in myself? Because there's certain people who I try to be most efficient and then just pay for the one-off wherever I messed up, even though it like makes us look bad or whatever. I'm like, we're making more profit because we're not following the system. Or let me give you one other example. I think you understand the example, right?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then the other way is to think about, no, because of who I am, like I needed to be organized. I needed to be by the book. I needed to be 100% there. Which one do you align with more and why?
Neither and both at the same time. I mean, I think the permit example is really good because sure, maybe you don't need to pull for if I'm just switching out lights, right? But when you start like wavering on these things, then it's like, then what else goes too? Yeah. So that's tricky. And then sure, maybe I can just pay this $1,500 fine and I'll make more money on this job. But I don't really look at revenue or profit is like a job by job or month by month. I look at it as a whole. Yep. So, you know, projections for the year. So even if I save a week at a time per job, how is that actually overall helping me? Yep. So to me, it's risk reward too. At the scale that we are now and the types of projects that we're getting into, they're not $20,000 jobs. They're $250,000 jobs, $500,000 jobs. It's not worth it to then open myself up if I don't pull a permit. Yep. And that's a very specific example. But yeah, I mean, if I could if skipping that step in a process works every time, then that's your new process. So.
But I always think about it as like the one-off. Because like you skip it 20 times and then it works out 20 times and then you got the one, but the one costs you less than the profit that you made on the 20. That's where it's always hard for me. Because like same thing whenever we go to list properties, like you should do a pre-inspection. I'm like, no, everybody asks for different things. Right. But they want us to fix everything up front so we don't delay that time. But I don't think that it's worth it because then we're fixing stuff that they might not want. So that'd be another example. So I always find it interesting. Like, I like what you said though. Like,
I would play the long-term game.
Yeah.
I would say a lot of times it's not worth it to take those small shortcuts because you perceive that you're going to make a little bit more money. Because at the end of the day, what is $1,000? Yeah. When you could make $100,000 that year just by, you know, doing the same thing. And then, you know, then you're not doing it too if it's a process, right? Yep. The whole thing about building businesses is you want it to be so foolproof that anyone can do it. So you can literally hire a VA, you can hire anyone so that you're not the one doing it, which ultimately will save you the most money.
Yep. I like it. I like it you said that it's like it depends on what it is, obviously, too. Like there's certain things where it's like, okay, this is a big deal, or can we create a process around it? And then obviously it just depends on what it is. So
exactly. So permits are a weird example.
Yeah, I
No
know.
one
I was
likes
like,
permits,
I should have used that
I
one as an
know.
example.
So for people who are just getting started, for people who are listening in,
Yeah.
explain how you got your first deal. Like, how did you find the money? How did you get it figured out? How did you find the deal, the property, and like, what did it look like? What were some of your early struggles?
Yeah, so I said before we moved here, I think it was November, December 2019. We found our first 2 deals, 9 units LLC.
Wow.
We bought 9 units in West Central just by walking around and meeting people. So neighborhoods, especially that you live in, can be really, really close-knit. This was a landlord who had several properties, was looking to start off letting things go. And we had met a realtor who said, hey, I might have this. It might be coming up. Do you guys want to take a look? We're like, yeah, of course. So one was a triplex. Upstairs had not been lived in since I found old food. I think it was like 2001.
Oh my gosh.
And then downstairs, there was one tenant who was moving out. And then the back unit was gutted and hadn't been livable since like the 80s or something.
Oh
So
my
that was a
gosh.
shit show. And then we bought 1232 West Washington, which is 6 units.
Is that the one is black? Is
The big
yeah.
black one.
Yeah, that's
that
awesome.
started the whole uproar of us. And so bought those. We paid all cash for them. Well, I think. Then maybe we got a mortgage or something. That's also an Anthony question. I'm not super into the weeds of how we do deals like that. But I'm like 99% sure it was like an all cash renovation as well. That was hard. It was amazing finding it. We were so excited, thought we were doing amazing things. And in the 6 unit, I think 4 were occupied at the time. And we gave notice to the tenants because we wanted to do a rehab. The building was fucking falling apart. Like if you moved a fridge, you could see outside. There was one thermostat that controlled the entire building, and it was all boiler heat. And it turns out during renovation, it was actually a fake thermostat. And there was a thermostat behind the thermostat in like 3 layers of plaster and drywall.
Wow.
So no one could control their own heat. And it was just I don't know. I wouldn't have lived there. It just, we got into that. But that was our biggest project. And, doing the renovation, trying to do everything right. Obviously, we ran into some hiccups, got stop work orders, all of this stuff. So I would say, finding your deal, amazing. Diving into it, have a better plan than we did. I estimated the renovation at like $200,000 or something, and I think we're all in at like $400 or something.
Wow.
Like, shit the bed on this. And, used people that were not licensed, were not insured, all of this stuff. Just ran into so many hiccups. So that was actually the catalyst of me getting my GC license and actually learning this process, because I was like, it's not about design. It's not just fun. There are so many specific
Steps.
things, that go into this. So that was why started the construction company.
Awesome.
So it got better and better, but still hiccups along the way. So
Yeah, I was going to say, you helped us identify where we should put kitchens and bathrooms and created some functional, or helped us identify more functional construction solutions. Where did you develop those skills?
walking through building after building after building. So I lived in New York, like I said, for a really long time, and the spaces are itty bitty. And so functionality was a huge thing in New York. So I think living there for a long time, I started identifying like, hey, you can fit a 24-inch range here. And if they're not going to cook a lot, why not do that? Optimize your space. And then I think, just walking through properties. And I have a construction manager, Nate, and with his knowledge of construction and background, we're able to go into a space and be like, okay, I think this will work, but feasibly, can the plumbing come up? Da, 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 da. So I think that has helped me a lot working with him to actually not just say, yeah, it'd be really cool to put a kitchen here, but looking at the basement, seeing the mechanicals and being like, oh, yeah, no, you can't do that. Or that is load bearing. Okay. So I guess just practice.
That's awesome. That's cool that you saw a lot of other places too, because I didn't think about that. You go see New York, you see the way other people did it, and you're like, okay, I've seen a space like this before. Here's what I saw there, so that's awesome.
Yep.
Whenever you go and you find a really crappy, not crappy, but let's just say like dilapidated property, and then you fix it up. Like, it sounds to me like you got some kickback for the color that you pick. Like, let's talk about that. And like, why are people's like? It feels like people think investors are bad.
Sure.
And what you're doing is helping everybody and everything to live a better life. So how do you deal with that sort of like kickback that you get from people whenever they disagree with a decision when you feel like you're doing what's best for everybody?
Yeah, I think that I have very specific examples that come along with this. We used to, and still do, primarily invest and rehab in one specific area in Fort Wayne, which is called West Central. It's a historical neighborhood that is very, very tight-knit. Like I said, walking around, meeting people. There are porch parties. I mean, it's 4 p.m. and you see people walking their dogs with wine. Yep. Very close. So people talk. And people, I think, who live there forget that it used to be a shithole. And Mike Anderson, I know you've had him on before, you know, I won't say single-handedly really transformed West Central, but played a really, really big part in it. So then, you know, that was the first wave of making it better. And then you had other people come in and do a lot of single-family homes and different stuff. And so it's a long-winded answer. But people then got really used to what it was. And you see, you know, trends, obviously. Right now we have this, like, barn, black and white, da-da-da-da-da. At the time that a lot of things were being redeveloped or redone in West Central, it was very like earthy tones, things like that. So coming in to a neighborhood that was a lot more neutral, sure, there are purple houses, there are different things that people were up in arms about at the time. Those became neutral as well. So me coming in, doing a black house that I got permission for. Talk about, you know, following process. I went to HPC, which is the Historical Preservation Committee. I said, you like this paint color? They're like, do it. I said, you like these numbers? Do it. They were pumped. Yeah. But then you have all these people that are living there and they see change. For better or for worse, a lot of people don't like change. Like you even see it with GE. That's going to be such a huge thing for Fort Wayne. And there are so many people that are like, no, that's going to be bad. It's like, how could that be bad? So I think that was a huge part of it. Not a lot of people like black. But, oh well, everything was approved. I just have a different taste. And I think a lot of people feel either threatened by it. I think my age as well. And being a woman has a lot to do with it, unfortunately. They're like, who is this girl coming in? I kid you not. Someone called me that rich bitch from New York who doesn't give a fuck about anyone else. Like,
they don't even
well,
know
fuck you. Like, and then you have the single-family homeowners who are like, oh, we don't really want a bunch of multifamilies in this neighborhood. And then you have the multifamily people that are like, you know, you're doing these rehabs, which is cool, but like now I can't afford to live here. So it's like it's a very, you have a lot of backlash. I think no matter what you do, and the whole, I'm so off topic on this. I told you I flail, but. It's really hard because you think you're like, I just did this amazing thing for this neighborhood. This house was literally poop brown, the color of my nails currently. You know, think you're doing a good thing, but you're never going to make anyone happy. So I think at the end of the day, you just kind of have to let it roll off. And unless there are like serious implications, like a stop work order, like then you take that seriously. Because it's like, just because you don't like something I do doesn't mean you're gonna change what I do. Everyone's opinion is valid. Everyone has their own perspective. Great for you. But like, I can't let that halt what I'm doing.
Right. Yeah, that was a beautiful house too. And I saw that, I was like, dang, those numbers on there. I was like, that looks so cool. I loved it.
Yeah, it makes me think of the gnarly Joker and Batman mural that we put on the side of this.
Yeah, people get really upset. And they're like, but it's my house.
Tell them the story. Oh, wait. I guess the story was when he was talking to me, but you can tell.
Yeah, it was just one of our friends was basically explaining how he was trying to bring up the 46808 zip code.
Sure.
And how the Joker is the prince of crime.
He didn't use those words. He just said he said it's bad for the neighborhood. He's like, yeah, it's bad for the neighborhood. I'm like, bad for the neighborhood. Did you see that property before we owned it?
Right.
I was like, the roof is falling in, like it's a piece of crap. And like you're saying that us fixing it up putting a mural on it that people will love to go see is bad for it.
Take
Yeah,
pictures with
we should let everybody know that they're allowed to come this weekend. Like whoever can stop by and take photos in front of it. Like
Oh yeah.
kids that dressed up as superheroes
Yeah.
and whatnot.
Let
They're
them
allowed
park there too. We should put free parking if take photo and post.
Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
but yeah, it was interesting because it feels like those people feel like they own that area, and that's why they get like hey, we own this area, and
Yep.
that's why
You're coming in.
Yep.
I think the word gentrifying comes in to play a lot when people are upset, and it's like, learn what you're talking about before you just say it. And
Well, we discovered with social media that the more people that you piss off, the more views that you get.
it is true.
So a lot of times if we rehabbed a property or something, I'll put in the hashtag gentrification just to get all those haters to watch our video and comment, hateful stuff so that it gets more attention.
Is there a lot of people that think gentrification is a bad thing then?
I think so. I think
Okay.
people throw it out as like a slander, you know what I mean, to try and brand you as a gentrifier or something like that, when maybe they don't fully know the extent of what you're doing, how you're helping the community, what the word even means, different things. So I like to stay away from all of that stuff, including social media, which is hard because it's a huge part of marketing and branding yourself.
100%.
And especially in the industry that we're in, it's so picture focused.
Yeah.
No one wants to read a description about a house. They want to see the before and afters.
Yep.
So how do you stay off of social media? You can't.
Yeah.
How do you make it work for you? Yeah.
What does your organization look like for people who wanted like a bird's eye view? Do you have properties in other markets? And then like how many units do you guys have? How long did it take you to create that? You said that you'd sold a business before. I think I like had an idea of what business that was, but how did you end up here and what do you have now?
Yeah. So Anthony sold his design and development company that he had in New York.
That was Jacked.
Jacked, J-A-K-T, acronym of different letters of people's names. Very cool business. But then, so moved here, started getting into the rentals. It was a very snowball, quick, up and up type thing. So we started with 9, and then it was like 20, and then it was like 30, and it was, I think the market was a little bit different than it is now. I'm not going to get into that, but we were able to acquire a lot more properties, like 90% off market type things, because I think we wanted to have a niche. And that niche originally was, these smaller multifamily homes that we were able to put a lot of money into and make them really, really nice. And then since then, we had started selling some of those. It's the learnings that you get along the way is, if I have 3 units in one roof, that's still one roof, right? But if I have one house and one roof, that's only one unit. So we never buy single families. And then 3 became 5 and 6 and 8 and 12. And now we have a 42 unit building.
Wow.
One roof, right?
In West Central?
So no, it's actually
Is that the one off of Dewald?
it's on Fairfield. It's right by the
Nice.
Forest
Oh,
Club.
that's what I meant. Sorry.
amazing.
Yeah, so we actually just got COO yesterday.
Wow.
So we like more compact, one location, one maintenance person for that kind of thing. So that puts us to, I think it's like 105 units.
Wow. And how long?
So our first property was April, March, something like that, literally right before COVID.
Yep.
We purchased it. So that was 2020.
2020, yeah.
Yeah, and it's 2022.
Holy smokes. That's amazing.
We kind of
Yeah, you
go all in.
Yeah.
Things that we like. So
How long did it take to rehab that too? Because it looked like you were trying to get folks ready to move in December. So has it
December
taken
1.
2 years to like get the thing fully?
So we
rehab?
actually came in when it had already been, I don't even know the percentage, maybe like 60% done, 70% done or something, and bought into it. And then started doing a lot of different touches to it. Yeah, I wanted a very specific floor. I wanted specific countertops, different things. So we definitely made some modifications, but I'm excited for that. So
That's awesome. I feel like I might remember that one. I think, did Jordan talk about that at all when we were going to the UFC fights?
yeah, I think the person who had it previous, Jordan wanted to sell it for him or buy it or something like
That's
that.
crazy.
So.
That's the crazy thing too, is like you never know, like one conversation, like one thing, and then just like it can turn into whatever you want it to, like especially when your intentions there, like if you know what you're looking for and you're very focused on it, you guys are realizing, okay, and the only way to really get focused on is to actually start taking progress. You start doing single family, like okay, screw single family, you do this, then you're like, okay, the bigger the units, and then you got very specific on what you wanted, and then it just comes up like that.
Just put your focus in, and then you let go of things that aren't working for you.
Yep. That's awesome.
So, how long have you been married to Anthony?
We're not married.
Oh, okay.
Basically,
We've been together since it's like it'll be 8 years in October, so it's October, so it's been like 8 years, I think.
Wow.
Maybe 7.
Maybe
one of the two.
So IDI Core is the software that I use to skip trace people, and it had under spouse. So I was like, oh, I thought that they were just together, not married. But then IDI Core threw me off. I was like, oh, maybe they're married.
Yeah. Well, they also don't know my age or anything.
Yeah, that's right.
That's really legit.
He's married to a different Sasha. Actually, that's 29. And
Who's the one who owns the winery, right?
Exactly, yeah.
We got some competition.
Well, the two of you have been together for a minute.
Yeah.
So what relationship advice would you give to our listeners?
I mean, that's a hard one. I think, what relationship advice? I don't know. Everyone's relationship is different. We have a very, very, very specific, different relationship than most people. You know, we live together, we work together. We've been working together for years at this point. And it's not just, when he had the design and development company, I was just an employee. Very, very, very different relationship to owning property together, being business owners together. It's hard. I mean, we don't have a separation of the two, which I think is really important for some people and not for others. So I don't know. I would say to the listeners, if you are in business with your not husband, spouse, that would be like follow-up questions, because it's a whole nother beast.
Yeah, I want to actually dig into that, because that's a difficult thing, especially whenever I didn't even think about it, that you're dating and your partners, like business partners, and how to, most people have to turn it on and off and then talk about personal and stuff. So how do you guys actually is there any time you're like, okay, hey, I want to set apart time that we can talk about us as a relationship, or do you you're like, you guys are so, okay, hey, here's where we're going, and we're going to the freaking moon together, and you're planning on growing the same vision, or what does that look like? What does that dynamic look like?
Oh, fucking A. I mean, we go through phases too, I think, like everyone does. Like, hey, let's work on this, let's work on that together, let's try and have separate time. It's just, I think the way that we both love business, we love all these different things. So even if we're trying to talk about something else, it's like we enjoy that. So it's like, why not just talk about what you like? I don't know. It's hard. If you can make it work, it's amazing. If you can't, time apart, I think, is really, really, really important for all couples. Like being able to come home to someone at the end of the day and be like, let me tell you about my day. We don't have that. I would say more we're starting to get that is I'm really focused on the construction company. I'm actually out at our shop most of the day, so I can come home and be like, hey, guess what happened? But that's a tough question. I don't know.
Have you ever felt pressure from the business caused pressure in your relationship, whereas like something happened there and you're dang, now I'm pissed off at you, and I'm not really pissed off at you, I'm pissed off at what you did in this business thing?
Fuck yeah. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, finances are the bane of my existence. I like doing QuickBooks by myself.
The Bane, that was a Batman reference.
I can sit down, I can go through transactions. At the beginning, so talk about processes, right? At the beginning of the construction company, I would just collect money or things, and I would forget to send an invoice or things like that, and they were just muddled as fuck. I mean, it was bad. And so that was such a twist in, trying to get the finances back in order. Not that they were they were just disorganized.
Yeah.
We knew where money was coming in and coming out. It was just like having
Yep.
to clean up all that for taxes and stuff. I would say that's probably our biggest, because like that's so boring.
Yeah.
But it's like the blood
It's necessary.
of your company. You have to have all of that shit like to a fucking T.
Yeah.
That's why I think I was asking you guys about the KPIs. Because I'm like, cool, you're spending $2,000, but like, where is it going?
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck,
How's
I
it
know.
working?
Yeah.
How much you getting?
Yeah, like what's working, what's not, where do we spend money? And then I think once you get a handle on your finances, then you can start doing more things like branding your cars, getting marketing, going this kind of fun stuff. But if you don't know, it's kind of like, but that's our biggest challenge, 100%. And then like I'll miss a meeting because I'll schedule something else and I won't look at my calendar because I'm terrible at my calendar. And it's like, the fuck? And so that can definitely, I mean,
Oh,
but that's with
sure.
anybody, right? Like, say I just didn't show up today.
Yeah. Like,
You guys
hey.
would be so pissed.
Yeah, but what the heck?
Yeah. And then imagine we were dating.
Yeah.
You'd be like, what the heck?
Yeah.
I'm not making you dinner. Like, yeah, you can be really upset about that. So, weird balance. Obviously, it's taken us years and years to work through things and figure things out, but it's always, relationships are not stagnant, right? So, they're
Yeah.
going to keep evolving over time. And if you can make it work, you can make it work.
Yeah, so I've felt a lot of frustration. Like Tony and I have been frustrated with each other before. We're still good friends, and we always keep that at the highest of importance. Because, yeah, sometimes you don't show up to a meeting. I'm like, bro, it's in the calendar. Or, like, I don't show up, and I'm like, 10 minutes later, I'm like, yeah, I'm further away than I thought. So it definitely happens. Do you guys talk about, like, your vision for your guys' lives very often? Or, like, what does that look like to where you guys know that you're on the same path, the right path, where you're going aligns? Like, did you guys ever have those conversations at all? Or did it just kind of like, because sometimes I feel like it all just falls into place on accident.
I don't think anything we do is accidental in life, to be honest. And not just Anthony and I think that with everyone, if it's conscious or subconscious, I think you're always doing things towards what you want or what you don't want. But yes, we definitely have conversations. We would do yearly plannings.
Yep.
We did have his mentor, actually, Elizabeth, is phenomenal. And she is actually in business with her husband.
Wow,
So that is
that's awesome.
like super, it was really, really neat. So we would do exercises typically once a year. Yeah, yearly
That's
planning.
awesome.
Just like you would do for a business, we do for our lives.
Wow. That's some great advice right there, because I think that's very important, is to have that discussion of, okay, here's where I want to go, here's where you want to go, and like being very intentional and like very specific on where you guys do want to go. Because again, like right now, you seems like you're growing the construction company. Maybe you're not as involved on certain things because that's what you want to do, and that's okay. So that's awesome that you guys have those conversations to talk about it.
I think you have to. I mean, you would do it with your business partner too. So why
Yep.
not do it with your actual partner?
Yep,
So
100%.
So this is the fun one that we talked about at the before we started the podcast. A renter got upset with you because you ended their lease, and then they took to social media to crucify you for doing something that's a pretty normal thing for landlords to do. Social humiliation is one of the biggest fears of people, next to death. How was that on your mental health, and then how did you recover? And what advice do you have for people who are being cyberbullied or kind of dragged through the mud?
Sure. So that was a really, really difficult situation. You know, the news, the fucking Fort Wayne news picked it up.
That was
Like it was a
bullcrap.
whole thing. And I think it's really important to keep in mind, no matter what news source you have, no matter what your political beliefs are, what you watch, I don't really care. They're telling a story.
Mm-hmm.
It's a story. I'm not saying none of it's true. I don't know. You can say whatever you want. But it's to get clicks. It's to get likes. It's to get engagement, just like you guys said, right? So that was one of the most popular articles on their Facebook page, like by leaps and bounds. And there's always sides to things. Not even sides. It's if you want to portray a specific example or a specific story, you're going to do that no matter what. We're people. It's
100%.
very compelling. I think, unfortunately, yeah, like you said, Twitter was probably the worst.
Wow.
That fucking A. I mean, Anthony got a death threat. I got a rape threat from it. They posted my car. They posted my house. They said, you know, if they saw us, to spit on us, da-da-da-da. I was like, at the end of the day, these people, or what do they call them? Keyboard warriors?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they're not going to do fucking shit to my face. But yeah, for a long time, I was super scared.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want to leave the house. I didn't want to do things. And it's mean. They brought up my mom, you know, because someone said, who went to high school with me, never met this person in my entire life, that I was this stuck-up girl, da-da-da, always had designer bags. Like, I had a Juicy Couture. Like, that is not a designer bag. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, her parents, plural. I'm like, nope, parent. Again, like, you guys you don't know what you're talking about, and you're trying to spin things to fit your narrative. And I don't engage with it, because no matter how many times I'm going to say my piece, you're going to spin it.
It just gets worse.
I responded once to the mom thing, because it was like, fuck you. Like, you're not going to bring my fucking mom into this. And then they just, blah, 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 even worse. So I'm like, nope, I'm done. So you kind of let them get it out. Get it out of your system, because next week it's going to be something else. It's the same with the news, right? Like, I mean, I'm not even going to give examples, but, you know, it's just, we live in such a fast-paced environment where people have the ability to be online and hear all of these different things 24/7, that people get very passionate when they think that they associate with it. So they're in groups and out groups. And obviously, these people felt like they were in that same boat. So they have frustrations. I'm not, you know, the 500 people who liked it, I'm not their fucking landlords. I don't do, like, this is a very specific example. You're never going to please everyone, and I think it's okay to feel sad and upset about these comments, because they're unnecessary and they're really mean sometimes. Cyberbullying is just, all in all, a really shitty thing to do. So I like to be really conscious of what I say and take a minute before I even say anything, too, that could be misconstrued in, you know, a bad way, especially on the internet where it is permanent.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, be upset. Do what you need to do. Like, take a hot shower, take a bath, drink a bottle of wine. Don't care. Like, you need to figure out something for yourself to, like, get you through that, like, initial, like, holy shit, this sucks. And then, like, you have to move on with your life. Like, you can't let these things, I think, dictate what you do, because they're just, what is it, trolls or something? They're being mean to be mean. And I don't live my life like that, so.
Yeah. You said so many points there. I'm like, oh my gosh, that are really good. So one is like, yeah, I mean, it's interesting how whenever you hear a threat, then it's very scary for you. And like, it's very real. Like, I remember
I was not interested in guns at all. And then somebody said they were going to come to my house, and now I've got 4.
Yeah.
I signed up for a shooting class.
Yep.
After I got that, literally, it was like women's night, and it was meant to be. It's some shooting place right over on Coliseum here. And it was like 5 women, just like self-defense. Yep. Literally next day. I
did lose all of those weapons in an unfortunate boating accident, though. So.
Oh. Why did you have 4 guns on a boat?
He's joking. But yeah, that's awesome that because that's the thing is like this kind of stuff will initiate like good moves if you're like a savvy person. Then you're like, all right, I'm going to now defend myself and be able to. And I think that's very important for not just women, but for everybody.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's mean. It's like you shouldn't do things like that. But also, like you said, defend. Like, I don't feel the need to defend myself.
Yeah.
Like, just because you say something to me that may trigger an emotion doesn't mean I need to come back and tell you. You, like, because you're being such a nasty human, like, you literally don't deserve my energy or my breath as a response. So that's why I just really stayed out of it. It's like, because you're fueling the fire at the end of the day. So, like, my biggest advice, like, do you on social media, do you in real life, like, things are going to come up. But just try and be like, that's on them.
Yep.
Like, people always say, like, oh, karma will come and get them. Yeah. I'm a full believer that, like, it already did. Yeah. They're living that life.
Yeah.
They're behaving like that. You don't need to wish that something bad is going to happen or things will come back to them. It already is.
Yeah, they're feeling it already. That's why they're saying that, is because they're feeling that pain.
Exactly.
And they want you to feel the same pain that they're feeling. So that's what I think about a lot is, like, those people, like, are hurting and they want attention and love. Because, like, I've noticed that.
And they're not getting it.
Yeah. All anybody ever wants is, like, they just want to be loved. Like, everybody wants to be loved so bad. And that's the way of them receiving it. They have the emotional, like basically the emotional intelligence of like a fifth grader, because like that's what I did in fifth grade. I remember I acted out, I threw food, I was crazy, I was mean because I just wanted attention. I wanted somebody to like talk to me, and they haven't grown up like emotionally. So now that's their only way of like getting any sort of like conversation and stuff. But yeah, it really is a self-reflection. I always think of the opposite whenever I think about situations. So like if we're going to move a tenant out and their lease is end and we say, hey, we bought this property, we want you to move out. Think about the opposite, because those people got very upset about having to move out. Think about the opposite of it, where we buy the property, their leases end, and then we basically demand that they stay. Hey, you have to stay here. You're not allowed to leave. Yeah, like that's where it really becomes a problem. Whenever you do the exact opposite of what we just did, it's
and people don't think about that either, and it's very comical too. I think if you were to go back and look at that news article and things, and whatever, me thinking back on it.
Are you letting deals fall through the cracks because you don't have good systems in place?
We've been there before, and we've tried several different CRMs, and RE Simply has been the best.
RE Simply tracks your KPIs, does automatic follow-ups for you, and even records your incoming phone calls.
The system is simple to use and has more features than we even know what to do with.
If you're looking for a great CRM, try RE Simply today. We put the link in the description. Check it out now.
Yeah,
oh my gosh,
crazy.
I was so upset.
Yeah, it's bullcrap. Honestly, when I saw all of that stuff happen, I was just very sad for you guys, honestly, because I was like, I believe in what you guys are doing, and I believe that you guys are doing a good thing, and I know your intent is good, regardless of how anybody else sees it. Like, I know that your intent is good, and like, there has to be something for your intentions. Like, you mean to do well by people. You're trying to give people a nicer place to stay. You're trying to build up Fort Wayne. Are you making profit in the meantime? Yes. Is that okay? Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
Like, it's okay to have some sort of self-interest in it as well. But it's interesting that, again, it's more about what people believe, and they're going to stay in that place, because if you believe that, oh, they're taking advantage, they're these rich people or whatever, and like you think that's a problem, you're just reinforcing the sense that you're going to stay where you're at now, because now you think that what they're doing is wrong when you don't see the good in it. Like, it's actually it's a very good thing to do everything that you guys do. So
yeah, I guess it's up for interpretation.
Yeah.
Depending who you are.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate everything that you guys do, and we're rooting for you guys for sure. So
thank you.
Yeah.
So I wanted to play around with another sensitive topic now.
Love it.
So you went to Bloomington.
I did.
And basically it seems like you went for sex. Or that was like your major, right?
Yeah, so Kinsey Institute. So Alfred Kinsey was the first person to empirically study sex. So I went for social psych, specifically on relationships, which obviously a big part of relationships is having sex.
Yeah.
Yep. Loved it.
Wow.
And so after kind of looking through the history of places that you've been in New York and you've been in Miami. I feel, and even West Central tends to be more liberal, right?
Yeah.
So in a political climate, because Dakota and I consider ourselves more conservative.
Sure.
In a political climate that is seemingly becoming more divided and biased by more and more social media, like we kind of talk about, like dividing people.
Sure.
How do you see, or do you see a way that we can find common ground and learn to come together as a country?
I mean, I hope so. I think it's a common misconception that because I wrote about sex and I was literally called by someone in West Central an unlicensed sex therapist. I am not. So my background is in research. So I've been published in journals for psych, and I do research. It's like, remember when we were in like third grade and you had to do a science board hypothesis, the whole thing? Mm-hmm. That was my jam. That's what I did. So I wrote about things that were studies, like real research. So I don't think that makes me liberal, to be honest. So I don't know if that's something that I would agree with. But I mean, yeah, I hope so. I don't think I can't solve that problem. I mean, I'm nice. I try and be nice to everyone. Mm-hmm. I'm the nicest person I know. Haha, that's a joke. But I don't know. I mean, that's politics. That's everything. I think, yes, there's a bigger implications of that, right? Like presidency, different things. But how does it trickle down to your circle, what you're dealing with, those kind of things? And then how do you, just interact with people as just people instead of being polarizing? So I don't know if I even answered that, but like, yeah, that'd be amazing.
I think
know.
Whenever I think about this, honestly, I just seek to understand now. I want to understand their position, and I want to be curious about their position. That's it. Literally, because I don't have to agree with it, but it's not about me agreeing with it. I just want to know that the other person actually is authentic with what they believe. Like, that's it. I'm just so curious. I'm interested that whenever I can tell that somebody is only believing it because they've been socially told that's what they're supposed to believe, or that their parents told them so, or that the college said so, and then I start asking them these questions and I find out that they don't even really believe it, but they're defending it like they do. I'm like, this is so weird. I'm like, I don't get it, but I do that too. Sometimes I'm like, why do I even believe this?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it becomes a part of your identity, your belief system. It can shape how you make decisions, voting, how you speak to people, how you treat people, different things. So, cool. That's, good for you. That's a part of you. It's just like your personality. It's just like your job is part of your identity. The car you drive is part of your identity. It really has nothing to do with me until it does. So you say like, I try and hear their point of view. I don't really give a fuck about your point of view.
Sure.
Like, unless it directly, like, I don't want to have an open conversation with you. Like, I don't care. Like, that sounds really mean, but it's like, why are we talking about this? Like, what is the end goal of this? Why are you telling me your point of view?
That's your masculine energy. I love it.
I don't know. I'd rather not talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, not that I'm hiding away from things like that by any means, but if it's just going to cause an argument or something, it's like, why don't you just believe that and let it be part of you, and I'll be myself and it'll be part of me. And then if we ever have to come together on something like that, then that's, I think, when we'll deal with it.
If I want to be gluten-free, I will hit you up.
Sure. Yeah, I can give you advice. If you want to learn more about KPIs, hit me up.
Man, I would pay you just to come in here and set up our KPIs and be like, all right, how much does that cost? Because, like, honestly, I know we're losing a lot of money from not doing it now, because now we ramped up our marketing so much. And I'm like, dude, we're spending some serious money that we need to find out what's working, what's not working. Like, this is like getting serious now. Like, $2,000, cool, not as big of a deal. We're spending like 12, 15. Yeah, we need to know what's working, where we should put more money, what's not working. Maybe we're spending money. We don't even know. We have no idea what's working.
I think it's more than 50.
Yeah, all we know is that like stuff is going up, and like it's not. I know. Sorry, I didn't listen to you yet, but I now am willing to accept it, and I want to listen to you. Yeah, I want to listen to you, and we're going to do it. I know 100% we are going to do it. I know it's very important. But last question I want to ask before Tony gets into some closing questions is you talk about that not caring, and I feel that a lot. What I've noticed is that in my relationships, I have that where I'm like, they're feeling sad about something, and I'm cut it off. I can't feel empathy. Do you feel any sort of that with Anthony, where you're like, I disagree with you, I don't even want to talk about it, and then like it creates strife later? Or is it usually more like just with people you don't really care about?
Yeah, I would say it's just strangers.
Okay.
Because they don't impact my life.
Yep.
They're those people online. Those are the people that are, driving by. Like, I'm never going to see you again. So with people I care about, it's literally like 180, 360,
Yep.
Full around.
Yep.
Stupid empathetic. I will go out of my way to do things for them. Even overbearing sometimes, like motherly. So yeah, that's kind of it. I really care, and then I don't. There's not really an in-between with me.
That's awesome.
So
that might be why you have so much capacity to do it too, is because you're not focusing on the people that don't matter. Because I've noticed I'm more empathetic with people that I don't know, because I'm like, in sales, you have to be empathetic. And so then I'm less empathetic with the people that I'm close to, like my mom, my sisters, my family, my significant other, and I can't feel empathy. But then when I meet this new human being who's suffering, I can like feel and like I want to help them so bad. And I'm like, man, what the heck? So I would rather be in your position where I'm like, all right, I'm never gonna see those people again. Like, it is what it is, than to
Well, I think sales is a little different too, right? So like you're gonna connect with that person, you do know them. So it's not like I'm like, well, fuck you to a client. Like, I don't care about your feelings.
Yeah, don't tell me about that.
No,
Here's how you solve the problem.
You want to buy the car or not?
Yeah. Like no, I think it's just more like internet people and different things is more what I was saying.
Yep.
Well, we're getting close to the hour mark. I don't want to stay like tight on our time commitment. So I'll ask you, I'll skip down through some of these to the final deep question. Mm-hmm. Ready for a deep question?
Yeah.
Okay. 70 years from now, you are on your deathbed.
Yeah, I was going to say, how am I not dead?
You're a survivor.
Technology's advanced, and so they found some pills that will keep you alive longer. And you have something that you can deliver to the world. It'd be a message, be either a sentence or a paragraph or a billboard. It is your legacy, a message to the world that you think that they need to hear. That is you, your message, your legacy.
Well, hopefully I've produced a lot more in my lifetime that will be my legacy than just one word or one sentence.
Or a paragraph or a mantra.
Or a paragraph, yeah. Hopefully, you know, I have like a museum with my name on it or like a lion or something, you know.
A lion?
I don't know. Or like a statue.
Oh,
like
I thought you had a lion
Dakota
with your
like
name
that.
on it. You're like,
Dakota's got, you see the lion back there? That's Dakota's lion. Did you see the lion mural thing or the canvas when you came in?
Maybe. I'll have to look when I leave. I mean, so hopefully I'm producing a lot more than just this last thing. So you know what? I really don't know. I think about death, oddly, probably more than most people. Every time I do something like really weird or significant, I'm like, I tell someone who is ever around, who's probably not making mental notes, but I'm like, put this in my obituary. I do. It's really weird. And then that's a question like I would ask, like, okay, if you had to write your own obituary, like, what would it say? Mm-hmm. And then I say, are you going to write your own obituary? Yeah. And they're like, what? No. And I'm like, teach his own. Okay.
I think it's a good idea.
So I took a class in college called Death and Dying. One of the best classes I've ever taken in my entire life. And so we like wrote our whole thing. This is super off topic because I'm thinking, what would I say? Maybe like, I told you I was sick or something, you know?
Talk about,
I don't know, like, do you. Like, and I don't mean this in a selfish way, but like, it's your life. Yes, there are people around you that you care about, but like, I think you're the most important person because you're you, right? There's no other you. Life is all you have, literally all you have. You can lose everything else. So I'd say just, you know, stay true to yourself, follow what you want to do, and, you know, you'll attract people that will want to be around you. And if you don't, you don't. Mm-hmm. But I'm also pretty independent. Like, I told Anthony, like, probably at least 8 times, like, if we break up or something, like, I'm going to move to, like, the swamp in, like, New Orleans, and I'm just going to be, like, I'm going to live in a tree house with, like, a bunch of animals, like, including an alligator. So
an alligator, too? Okay.
Yeah.
And then Sasha's going to lose her articulate, you know, type of speech. She's going to be like,
I'm going to be by myself all the time.
My name Sasha. I live down on by the bay.
Get off my property. I don't know. So just whatever, I don't know. I think being true to yourself, and I think especially, you know, being a woman and growing up is really hard. Mm-hmm. And like all of these different factors try and influence you to being something. And it's like, at the end of the day, all you really have is like yourself. So maybe that would be my dying, like, each individual person, remember that, like, you is you. You is beautiful. I don't know.
We're going to be a little bit over, but do you remember what you wrote in your obituary? Like, could you share, like, maybe the highlights of it or the top 3 things that you put in there? Because I'm just curious.
Oh, no. You're going to have to wait till I die.
Okay.
It's a secret. I do actually have a note on my phone with a few bullet points, but nope, you're going to have to wait till I die.
Oh, dang.
And I hope everyone cries.
So we're going to wait 70 years.
Yep, at least.
At least. All right.
How can our listeners get a hold of you?
Well, I think it depends what they want from me. honestly. I mean, I have, all the normal social medias, like normal people. I have my email, which is the letter S at all of our different websites. So like Polpo Group Construction, Polpo Group Real Estate, Polpo Group, I would say if people are in Fort Wayne and like want to chat about construction, have a project, definitely hit me up for that. If you're interested in, like you guys talked about, like working with your partner kinds of things, I can definitely be helpful. Well, maybe, I guess. We can talk about it. Yeah. I'm not going to give you my phone number. I'm not very good at texting, as you know. I don't know. Hit me up on the internet.
Awesome. Do you have any final thoughts you want to share with our viewers?
Hopefully I didn't sound crazy. Hopefully this gets edited so I also don't sound crazy. Sorry I drank so much coffee. Thank you for having me.
Love it.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys liked this one, please like, comment, subscribe. Tell us your favorite parts. See you on the next one. Peace.